All right, so that takes us into what we're all here for, right? Well, at least me and you. The discussion, the end of the year superlatives.
End of the year, 2017 year in review.
Yeah, and it's. I think it's our favorite episode to do. If we could do superlatives every episode, we just like picking winners. I think of things. That's what the Polykill contest is all about. We like lists of things.
Yeah.
We like feeling like our opinions are valuable, which we understand that they're not, but. This is our show.
It's ours. So fuck off. Yeah.
So let's start off here. Let's give some context. So
a little bit of context. What's
going to happen here is we're going to go. We've pre-selected some awards, some categories, so to speak, and we've based most of them on games that we've beaten over the last year. So that doesn't include games that are made in the last year or whatever. Just games that we've played and beaten. Our
2017, not necessarily 2017 at large.
Right. So that's where I guess it's a little bit different or different enough. And so all the games that we've beaten sort of get categorized and get nominated for all these different things, and we're going to weigh them against each other and select a winner. Now, there are two in which the 2017 year is important. Of course, we're going to base it on character of the year, our favorite, of games that came out in 2017, what's our favorite character, and then at the very end of the show, we'll talk about our favorite game that we played that was both made in 2017 and that we beat in 2017. Right. So that will be much like many others people have done. So to add some context here, I beat 71 games this year. I'm pretty proud of that. That's
crazy.
Certainly much more than I've beaten in previous years. I believe maybe I got in the 50s last year, maybe low 60s. Before that was just the 30s. So I've added, I've beaten more games every year. Can I beat 71 in 2018? I don't know. I have a PhD to do and all kinds of other things. But hopefully, we'll see.
Who knows?
Now, I will say of those 71, some were smaller. I beat Limbo and Inside and Gone Home, some quick hitters, and then also 4 of them I went on that little football sports tirade there. Right. Those are counted in this list, but I'm admitting that, they're not the most difficult.
But still, 71's a great number.
I think it's a good number. What about you?
I didn't even make it to 30. But I got 28.
That's okay.
Some of them are fairly larger in scale, like beating. Just for some context, because I don't think it'll actually show up later, but I did beat 4 Uncharted games. Beat 2, 3, 4, and Lost Legacy.
Right, which is about 100 hours of game.
That's sizable. Yeah. Assassin's Creed, obviously, 35, 40 hours in that. So, I did spend time with some bigger titles. Did have a few smaller ones too, like
Rime and Gone Home.
Edith Finch. No, Gone Home.
Was that last year? Yeah, Edith Finch. Yeah.
Gears 4. So some bigger games.
Yeah.
I tend to stick with the bigger games for some reason, which is why I didn't even beat 30. However, I'm proud of what I did beat, but would have liked to get into more.
Right. So another wrinkle in this is that I have more.
A lot more awards to give out.
I have more, categories than Jake because I don't think it's often fair to compare games from 1992 to a game to 2015. So I've split a lot of them up by retro and modern, and in that way. Also, it's really hard to represent 71 games because I liked most of them and I want to give all of them something. It doesn't matter. It's not like they'll be sad if I don't. But from my own point of view, I feel like there's a few that I want to
recognize,
point to and recognize. So we'll start out with retro RPG of the year for me. So.
Okay.
The ones that made that list, and do you want to read mine? Should we do it that way?
Sure, we'll do it that way. So your nominees for Retro RPG that you played in 2017 are Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy II, and Wanderers from East 3.
Yes, and the caveat there is I have not finished Chrono Trigger. Maybe I expected to before this episode, which is why I listed it there. But it's still yet, I think, and this might surprise some people, given how much I did not like Secret of Evermore and how similar it is to Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana was probably my favorite RPG, retro RPG that I played. Now, one of the differences between that and Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy II is that it's action RPG, which you might find that I am more
inclined to, especially in the retro space. Yeah.
For sure. I certainly did end up liking Final Fantasy II despite my frustrations. Once I figured out I could heal my whole party, it sort of was a game changer, literally. And Wanderers from East 3 was quite a surprise. It was just a little short. It's only a 5 or 6 hour game. It's very bland in some regard, but a surprisingly fun game. I think Secret of Mana just had it all for me. You had music, it was colors, a pretty decent story, and it was just altogether fun. I couldn't get away from it. I played it for 2 and 3 a.m. sometimes on work nights, which is not okay.
That is very not okay.
And so I really enjoyed it. So that was my RPG, old school RPG that I played this year, was Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana. All right. Nice.
I'll do one for you here. Let's move on to modern RPGs.
Modern RPGs. So this is going to be stuff made within the last, 20 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think so. Like we did in the last episode, after 2002.
After 2002.
Now, you have a few here. One that I wasn't even aware was an RPG, but maybe it's more tactical.
It is.
So you have Persona 5, which you did not complete, but you played a lot of. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Right.
And Golf Story.
Golf Story. Yeah.
Where you at?
So now these, so the fun thing about this, these are all games that were released this year. So that's what I'm going, because I didn't play any modern RPGs enough this year to say that I had something else, if that makes sense. I've still got some RPGs out there that I haven't finished. A lot of them, actually. However, I really love Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle more than I thought I would, for sure. I still haven't beaten it, but I'm probably 3/4 of the way there. It is one of those games that I did not expect to be nearly as good as it did. Golf Story, just talked about that one. But, I mean, I think the obvious winner here for me is, even though I didn't beat it, Persona 5.
Right.
It's a game that I anticipated. I love the art style, love the music, love the gameplay, love the world, love the series. There's just, there's, zero flaws with this game, in my opinion. It's a damn near perfect game. And, it's everything I wanted it to be.
It's true, and it's hard to believe. 8 months ago, if we're reflecting on the year in totality, 8 months ago we did the unboxing that you got. You got the full edition, right?
What was it called? I got the big the Take Your Heart edition.
Take Your Heart edition.
Steelbook, the little school bag, the little stuffed cat or not cat, depending on who you ask, and got the soundtrack CD sampler thing. And
yeah. So go back and to the annals of Polykill's YouTube and find that video. It was actually really fun to do, and we tried to make it funny, as we tend to try to do.
Yep.
Okay.
Persona 5, my winner. All right.
Job.
So modern RPG of the year for Trav. The nominees being Dragon Quest VIII, Nier Automata, Witcher 3, and Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance.
It's probably an easy one, and I quite enjoyed all of these. I didn't like Nier as much as I thought I would, but I still liked it. Dragon Quest VIII, I think I feel better about beating it than I feel about the game in general.
Fair enough.
Great game, though, still. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, special place in my heart because I beat it with my wife.
Absolutely.
Did not expect her to like that sort of game, and she did. And that makes me excited because there's tons of those out there.
Absolutely.
But in general, I think it's hard to top Witcher 3 in any category you put it in.
It's really hard to. It's. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's the game that's defined this generation.
Yes, and it's thinking back, I remember maybe I even said it on this episode. I was discouraged by this game at one point. I sort of, I wasn't really filling out the combat system very well, and I'd sort of gotten myself stuck in a place, and I considered not playing it, anymore. I was like, man, this game's just too hard and it's too intimidating. It's so big. But I eventually got past that part, and the game opened up, and I loved every second of it. And it's still a game I might go back and dabble a little bit more in that DLC. People highly recommend it, and I have the complete edition. Why not?
There you go.
Can't beat Witcher 3. So that's of the modern RPGs I played this year, that's my favorite.
Sweet. Very nice.
All right, so that takes us into things like adventure games of the year.
Adventure game. Now, this is something I played a hell of a lot of last year. I don't know if you remember. I beat 9 or 10 adventure games last year.
Yes.
And this is a genre that I really do love. And it's because I enjoy good writing, good narrative, good characters, and that's all just brought to the forefront in this style of game.
Absolutely. And there's some interesting games here. The adventure games usually they're met with such people, if they like an adventure game, they love it so much. And there's very little ambiguity when it comes to how people feel about an adventure game.
True.
And a lot of these, you certainly gushed over these. So of your nominees for the adventure game that you played in 2017, your favorite is between What Remains of Edith Finch, Rime, Tacoma, or the most recent finish, Life is Strange Before the Storm. What do you think?
This is tough. This is actually quite difficult because I love each of these for their own unique things. For What Remains of Edith Finch, I love it because of the unique storytelling, the overall dismal feel of the game, the despair that you actually kind of go through with some of the characters in what remains of Edith's foot. Rime. This game took me off guard. Some people didn't seem to impact some people as much as it did me, but I love the world. I love the puzzles, love the simplicity of the game. Tacoma, not the most standout in terms of story arc or dynamics in terms of what happens within the game, but one of the most unique ways to tell a story within a game that I've played. And then Life is Strange. It's just one of those things. It's a weird almost form of micro nostalgia, going back to that world, even though I just kind of went through it last year.
Right.
It's kind of like this warm feeling of being back in Arcadia Bay and Blackwell High School and all that stuff that just it's so good to be back. However, there can only be one one, and this is difficult. I say, it's pretty difficult. But my final answer is Rime.
Oh, I would have put my money on Rime.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like you talked about it. You said Rapturous. I believe that was the game you said Rapturous.
Magical was this game.
Right.
Abzu was Rapturous. This game was Magical.
Okay. So which is better? Magic for you.
I don't know.
Magical or Rapturous?
Boy, it's hard to say. It depends on my mood. But Rime, now I will say apparently the Switch port is not great.
Oh.
So if you are playing it or trying it on the Switch, that might not be the best version of the game, but I highly recommend playing the game, in general, because I would really be interested to see what other people think. I know Caleb Ross said he thought it was good, but not great. That's the only other feedback that I've heard about the game from anyone, but sort of took me by surprise. Amazing soundtrack too, so check it out.
Nice.
Yeah. So when it comes to your adventure game that you played in 2017, we've got a few here. We've got 4 nominees, starting with Gone Home. This is a game that came out a few years ago. I beat it last year, and you beat it this year. 999, game you just talked about. Inside, one of 2016's darlings. Great game. And then the latest chapter in The Walking Dead from Telltale, New Frontier.
Yeah. So it was a good year for me for adventure games. Adventure games is usually not something I go for. I think we talked about that in the adventure game episode. I wanted to get more into.
Right.
And I certainly did that this year. I played Gone Home, usually not my style of game. For a guy that likes things like Cuphead and
Mega Man.
Mega Man, Gone Home's a little more of a relaxed approach to games, and I certainly did not like it. I was actually very surprised by how much I did like it. Very creepy vibes. It was, even more so than Resident Evil 7. The hair stood up on the back of my neck throughout this game because of this very lonely and dark.
The tension.
And much, very much tension. Is that a thing you say?
Very much tension? Sure.
Very much tension. Much tension. High tension.
I want to see that on a box quote for Gone Home. Very much tension.
Very much tension. Yeah. Of course, Inside, is it a spoiler to say there's a twist? Maybe not. I don't know, but it's such a great experience all the way through.
It's insanely well put together game. It's one of those things that there is no flaws with that game.
There really isn't, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I also beat Limbo this year. I didn't throw that in there. I could have.
Inside's definitely superior.
I certainly preferred Inside, which is why I put it on this list. And Walking Dead New Frontier, I have fond memories of, even though I think it wasn't quite The Walking Dead's of the past. I did play it alongside Miles, and we were able to share our ideas and thoughts throughout, and that really made it a more fun experience.
Sure, yeah, that's cool.
Unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't quite up to that Walking Dead level for me. It was sort of, if you could compare it to the Resident Evils, where old Resident Evils were very lonely and scary, and then the 5 and 6 became very action oriented. I feel like this Walking Dead sort of had that.
Okay.
Where it became less scary, more action, and didn't really grip me as much as those older ones did. That said, 999, I really, really enjoyed it. I'd heard tons about it. I'd said it on a panel at MagFest that talked about some good adventure games, and heard people talk about it. I'd never heard of it. My interest started there, and then 2 or 3 years later, I finally picked it up. It held up. It's solid, and I'm looking for more games like it, whether it be on the whatever handheld system I have, the
Gotcha.
The PSP or the DS. If anyone has suggestions for games similar to 999, I'm all ears. That was my favorite adventure game of the year.
Sweet. I will recommend Danganronpa series. You can get those on PS4.
Okay. So. Yeah, well, nice. Thank you. All right. Action, adventure.
Oh, my favorites
of the year.
My favorites.
We'll play. There's tons of these made. There's no shortage.
I don't know.
Of action adventure games out there. Jake played most of the Uncharted's over the last couple of years.
I did.
On his nominee list, he has Uncharted Lost Legacy, a recent completion, Uncharted 4, and Horizon Zero Dawn, a game he gushed over for months prior to its release, and then played it for a hot 10 minutes. And also Assassin's Creed Origins, his most recent completion, talked about here on this episode. Let's see if we have any recency bias going into this decision. Jake, where do you stand?
So this is difficult for me because this was actually kind of a standout year for action-adventure games, at least in my opinion. Having the mammoth that was Horizon Zero Dawn, it sort of became a front-runner for Game of the Year for a lot of people when it was released, and that really didn't change toward the end of the year. There was very little that sort of superseded it. Beautiful world, lush environments, incredible creature design, an open world that wasn't completely unforgiving in terms of traversal and just fun to get around in, and amazing different biomes that you go to. Sometimes you're in the snowy mountains at night, sometimes you're in the desert plains during the day. So it's one of those games that that really handled the environment in a way that it became a character, and I thought that was really cool. Uncharted Lost Legacy. This one I really did enjoy. Thought it was a great addition to the series. Like I said earlier, Uncharted 4 is a game that I beat this year. Obviously, it didn't release this year, but I did complete it this year. Found it to be just a real standout game in terms of storytelling, character development, set pieces, all that stuff that you want from a big action adventure game. This game delivered in spades. And lastly, but not leastly, Assassin's Creed Origins. This game sort of shocked me in how much I liked it. So, when it comes to the winner, this one was difficult because for a long time I thought I knew, and then I felt like I didn't know, and then now I know something else. So, the winner for me is Assassin's Creed Origins.
Wow!
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so and part of that's probably because I did complete the game and I got the full picture of it with Horizon Zero Dawn. I still haven't completed that one, and but just the
didn't see that coming. If you had asked me January, which one of those I thought you'd like the most?
Yeah, me too.
Right,
me too, easily. I think the reason is, and this is probably maybe controversial. I don't know. We'll see. Like I was playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and then one day I kind of got this wild hair to just jump back over into Horizon Zero Dawn. When I did, I found that I just didn't jive with the controls as much as I did with Assassin's Creed Origins. It's like it felt a little looser. It wasn't quite as accurate. The combat felt a little, I don't know, off compared to ACO, which granted, Assassin's Creed has a little more, time to develop that sort of combat, where it was Guerrilla Games' first attempt at a third-person action-adventure game, so maybe they just didn't have the combat quite ironed out. Not saying that it's bad at all, it's just I like the feel of ACO better. That's not why I picked one over the other. It was mainly just because I know the full picture of the game, and I was really surprised by the writing in Assassin's Creed Origins. I thought it was really smart, really grown-up, really mature way to tell a story, and characters took not shocking, but also very unexpected turns, and I really like that.
Alrighty. Well, that is a surprise. That is absolutely a surprise. I'd be interested to see you. Maybe one day, if you ever do complete Horizon Zero Dawn, I'll bring this question up and say, how does it measure to Assassin's Creed Origins in retrospect? So that's interesting. Huh? All right, so now it's a big block of me. I have a lot of special little ones here. I apologize to everybody. I'll make them quick. I know you hate hearing me.
Have you done your action-adventure game? I don't think you have.
No, retro? No, it's right here. Let's do it.
Well, it's right here.
I haven't done mine yet? No, I have not.
No.
Well, do that, and then there's a big block of me.
Big block of you. All right, so for your action-adventure game of the year, now we're going to assume this is more modern.
Yes, this is the modern, yeah.
More modern take. So you actually went through a lot of these. So Rise of the Tomb Raider. Big one. Gears of War 4, Bayonetta 2, Wolfenstein Old Blood, and Quantum Break. That's a handful, friend.
It's a handful, and all of them are great games. Quantum Break, interesting with that full motion video. We've talked about it at length. Mm-hmm. It disappoints a little bit toward the end. I think it wears thin, but I love the idea, and I thought it was pretty decently executed for almost, I would say, a first try for that idea. In the modern age.
Sure, yeah.
Wolfenstein Old Blood, how can you go wrong with some Wolfenstein? It was a short little campaign, sort of a half Wolfenstein game perhaps, but certainly full in terms of fun. Like you said, I enjoyed it maybe more so than the New Order, both being amazing.
True.
Bayonetta 2 came out of nowhere for me. Just
it didn't come out of nowhere. It came from Diego.
Oh, it came from Diego. Who said I can keep it now because I've owned it longer than he has, most likely.
That's hilarious.
And the first Bayonetta is in there, which I'll probably eventually get to. I was very surprised that I like this game. Very Sega, if you could say that about a game. Extremely Sega.
Quite Sega.
I enjoyed it, absolutely. Gears of War 4, that's one that, amongst my cronies, that's one that we tend to flock to for multiplayer fun. So, of course, we all played the campaign to start out to get the feel, and decent campaign, decent action-adventure campaign. Played it with a buddy. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think because it's Gears of War 4, it feels like it's a bro game that a lot of people skip out on because they think it's just they think it's like Doom Light. I still think it's a great game. A lot of throwbacks to some old characters, and the story's really, really solid.
Yes, agreed.
And then Rise of the Tomb Raider.
See, this one I have no idea what you're going to pick. Like most of them, I'm like, yeah, I know what he's going to pick. This one's wide open to me. I have no idea what you're going to pick. Do you know?
Well, it's funny. Was it last episode, or years before, we were talking about how the naming scheme for the Tomb Raiders were confusing.
Yes.
And that I couldn't remember which one was which.
Right.
And I couldn't even remember for a time whether I'd beaten the game or not, mainly because of the name. But I loved Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I think that's my choice.
Okay.
I absolutely loved that game.
This is the one where you start out in the snow and...
Yes.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, oh yeah.
We made fun of the character arc for the first one, going from like crying over gutting a deer to being murderous. This one actually, obviously the ruthless murder is there. Something that's a departure from the older Tomb Raider series where everything's just puzzles. This is more, literally action adventure, more almost Assassin's Creed, almost
very
Uncharted.
Yeah.
But I still think it was my favorite. Visually striking. Obviously the story's good. It's well written. I love the character that plays Lara Croft in those games. It was absolutely awesome. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Sweet.
I think number 2 for me, because I feel like you said, it's very close.
Yeah.
I think Bayonetta 2 was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So
I figured. Yeah, I kind of figured that too.
Yeah.
My money was actually on Bayonetta 2 if I had to pick.
Really?
Yeah, just because it was so bizarrely different than anything else in that field.
It certainly was.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, so it is now time for you to get into some of your retro shit.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into some retro shit, and we'll do this like this. So your retro action-adventure game of the year. We've got 3 nominees: Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, and Beyond Good and Evil. All 3 standouts in their field.
Standouts. I'll get one out of the way quick. Beyond Good and Evil, I thought, I'm still bewildered by why there's such a cult following for this game. Like, why have people clamored so much for a sequel? To me, it was just okay.
Okay.
I thought it was just okay. It's just you sneak around and kill dudes from behind, and it never landed with me. And maybe it's because I played it 15 years later, but I play a lot of old games, and this still
didn't click.
It really didn't.
Okay.
I think the characters are fun, and I think maybe that's why the trailer for the new one was so interesting, because the characters are very exuberant, but it didn't do it for me. So it comes down to being between Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past and Super Metroid. And I think my lean here is for one main reason, because I think on most fronts these games are equal in terms of being absolutely groundbreaking. They defined really the 16-bit genre, in my opinion. They're 2 of the best games ever made, you could probably say.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I
think my fondness for the original Legend of Zelda affects this a little bit, in that nothing will ever top that in terms of a Zelda experience for me. Despite how good A Link to the Past is, my nostalgia is way too strong for that original, so nothing will beat that.
Okay.
I think the Super Metroid, though, it's not, the Zeldas were always rinse and repeat. It was like, all right, now here's a blank Hyrule, go find Ganon. It's very much like Mario game in that respect.
Sure, very much.
Super Metroid really carries on the story, and there's some bits there toward the end where you sort of recognize a part and you see what's going on. You're like, oh wow, that's from this game. That makes sense. Oh my god, that's so awesome. And it just felt better to beat. It's more of a challenge, and obviously playing it with a buddy helps. So I think that was my favorite experience of the 2 games, and maybe, certainly my favorite of the 2. But it's close, man. It's hard to pick one over the other. But I think Super Metroid
can see that.
wins there for me.
All right. Nice. Mm-hmm. No surprise, really, to me.
Really? Okay.
No surprise. All right, 16-bit platformer of the year.
Right.
So we got a few nominees here. We've got Demon's Crest, a game that you beat at least 3 or 4 times. Castlevania 4, a more recent completion due to the CC Game of the Month. We also have Castlevania Bloodlines and Donkey Kong Country 2.
Right, so I had to split these up between 16-bit and 8-bit. I played a lot of platformers, and there's so many good ones in both that I felt like I couldn't narrow it down enough, so I had to split it up. So I'm very sorry to draw this episode out, so I'll go through this quickly.
Okay.
Demon's Crest, metal as fuck. I wanted to play this game for forever. Beautiful game. Unfortunately, short. It takes maybe 5 hours, even if you fuck it up and finish it early like I did twice. Maybe 5 hours. Okay. Super Castlevania 4, very challenging game. I loved it, but I felt like there were some parts of it that were just really cheesy. It's a rehash of the original.
Right.
Of course, it's improved upon and expanded upon. And then Donkey Kong Country 2, I just thought was unfairly hard. I definitely prefer the original.
Same.
So Castlevania Bloodlines to me was probably my favorite. It was the only Castlevania to ever grace the Sega Genesis. And maybe Sega in general. I'm having trouble remembering if there's any on any other Sega's exclusive platform. But I thought it knocked it out of the park. I mean, it being you compare the Genesis to the Super Nintendo, it's not as much slowed down. Everything's more bombastic. The sound chip's a little bit better, in my opinion, especially for this game. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. You can play as 2 different characters. They have different attacks. A lot of fun. So Castlevania Bloodlines would be my favorite of those four.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, on to the 8-bit platformer of the year. Nominees are Kirby's Adventure, Super Contra, Castlevania, and Mega Man 6.
Right. So Kirby's Adventure, I think, is just a little too simplistic for me to absolutely love, but it certainly holds up. I get why people like it. Mega Man 6, much like other Mega Men, it doesn't really stand out to me, but it was still a great game. So it really just leaves Castlevania and Super Contra.
Okay.
And I think, it's really hard to top the original Contra in terms of standing out, being good. Super Contra was just, it was a loyal, or what you would, I don't know how you would say
faithful.
It, faithful predecessor in that it didn't really change much, which was great. But I think beating that original Castlevania, for me, a thorn in my side for years. Tough game.
We tried multiple times.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the cartridge froze on us a couple times. But,
multiple times.
But, finally beating that one meant so much. Take that, 8-year-old me.
Yeah.
Suck
it.
32-year-old me is the boss. So I beat that one. I think the original Castlevania is my favorite of those.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Shoot 'em up of the year. This is a genre that I just didn't get into. There's a couple that I wanted to pick up this year and play when it came to shoot 'em ups. Just never made it around to it. But your nominees, you have 3. You have 1942, which is a fairly recent beat. You have Captain Skyhawk, which is several months ago, and then a more recent Cuphead.
Yeah, it's sort of an unfair comparison here. I really just wanted to give Cuphead some credit. I enjoy playing 1942. It's one of those tried and true old school ones. It was popular in the arcade. Obviously, everybody knows about it. Captain Skyhawk, fun on the NES. Not much of a challenge, really, altogether. Cuphead, I just wanted to say it again.
Cuphead by a mile.
Cuphead's fun. I just want to give Cuphead something. So Cuphead was fun.
Cuphead. All right. Puzzle games. So you played what looks you at least nominated 4 different puzzle games. You have Portal 2 multiplayer. You played through this with your buddy Josh, right? On the old PC.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong on the Game Boy.
Absolutely.
Goof Troop. Now, you beat that on like New Year's Day last year, right?
Yeah, it was like a long time ago. It was the first
very long time ago.
Yeah.
And then Super Bomberman.
Yeah. A bunch of fun games. I love puzzle games.
Sure.
Portal 2, it's hard to beat that. It was pretty fun. But I knew what I was getting into having played the original Portal, or original Portal 2 without multiplayer. Kind of short for multiplayer. Wish there was more of it. I think that's my gripe. Of course, that's Valve just never giving you enough, right?
Always teasing you.
Goof Troop was actually a really surprising game. It's only 4 hours long, but it was really, really well thought out. You think it's a kid's game, but it's a decent time.
Nice.
Super Bomberman, I love Bomberman. This one, again, a little bit too short for my tastes.
Okay. Donkey
Kong for Game Boy, a game that I grew up with, never could beat as a kid. It was the first Cartridge Club portable game of the month.
Okay.
I hunkered down and played through it. Thankfully, thanks to the Cartridge Club portable game of the month, that it gave me the impetus to finally go at it. You can't beat that game, man. It is absolutely fantastic. Hundreds of levels. It starts out with the original Donkey Kong, jumping over the barrels and such,
right?
And then transforms into this more expansive game. It turns into basically what precluded the Donkey Kong versus Mario series.
Okay.
And so it's I don't think you could top it. So it's
very nice.
That's my favorite. That was absolutely good.
Booyah.
All right, narrative of the year. Stories of the games that you played.
Now, we like stories here.
Love stories.
Polykill.
Especially, sometimes simpler the better. It doesn't have to be this crazy, twisty, 50-hour ride. It just has to be good, compelling.
Maybe sometimes it's defined by good performances.
That's right. So, Jake, you've played some games that have some decent stories this year. You played What Remains of Edith Finch, Rhyme, and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Where do you stand?
This is also a difficult choice to make. I was sort of surprised by, all of these actually were kind of surprises, like in terms of what, I expected good from all of them, but was sort of blown away by one in particular. So I'll not beat around the old bush. I'm just going to go with What Remains of Edith Finch. I think this is the most interesting series of events that I played in a game this year, and it was one of those games that was just told in interesting ways. And I'll repeat it. If you haven't played this game, you should. I mean, it's easily worth the $20 ask. I think it's probably on sale at a lot of outlets, at least through the new year. So, make sure you pick this up. I really can't say much more than that because I just don't want to spoil anything at all. But play it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with when you talk about narrative of the year, we want to say we love it without really giving it away.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you have 3 nominees. You have Resident Evil 7, Wolfenstein Old Blood, and Last of Us Remastered. This is a game that you beat not terribly long ago. All of these. So these are all fairly late in the year.
Yeah. I have to say Last of Us Remastered is just going to run away with that one.
Okay.
I mean, what a great story that was. And, of course, we got the teaser trailer for the sequel that's coming out. And I've avoided it because I'm very cautious and weary of spoilers. So I'm excited to play it, though, whenever it does arrive. So Last of Us Remastered, my favorite story of any game that I played in 2017.
Very nice.
Best original score. We're talking music here.
Music. We like music here.
Now, Jake, not only did you play a hot 16 minutes of Persona 5, but you got the soundtrack CD as part of your
16 hours, not 16 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got the soundtrack. I don't. Did you listen to the soundtrack at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
I actually at work will sometimes just put on the soundtrack. It's about 3 hours of original music, and just
Let
it's
it run.
acid jazz, man. Gotta love acid jazz.
Yeah. So Persona 5, Rime, and What Remains of Edith Finch, once again making the nominee list here.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite to jam on?
Boy, it's difficult because each of these kind of do something a little different for me. What Remains of Edith Finch does the tension and the questions and the all these darker emotions. Rime is a little more triumphant. It's a little more heroic, orchestral. And then Persona 5 is just fun to jam out to. So it's kind of a difficult choice. But the one that I just remember striking me the most is going to be Persona 5. It's very fun, upbeat, jazzy. It just really sets the mood. It's something kind of out of left field because acid jazz sort of died when Jamiroquai hung up his hat. So it's kind of fun to see it come back.
Yeah. Awesome.
Really liked it. For you have 3 nominees. You got one slightly retro styled here in Shovel Knight. You have Cuphead, which is a nice combination of jazz and ragtime from the 30s, and then Persona 5. One of my picks.
Right. And again, I haven't quite finished Persona 5, of course, but I've listened to enough of the music to know whether or not I like it, and I do like it. I think it's like you said, it fits the game really well. It really sets the mood. I can't imagine the game having any other music to it.
It's kind of weird. It's indelible.
Yeah. Cuphead, I think the music certainly matches the game and the style of the game, and it really adds to the ambiance. I don't think it's the kind of music I'd throw on just to listen to,
Sure.
And I think that's why I prefer Shovel Knight's music in that a lot of those scores, I don't mind hopping on Spotify and seeking out those, or even YouTube and seeking out some of those tracks and just jamming on them, because a lot of them are pretty intense. It's like that, almost like a hard rock or a hard rock 8-bit chiptune kind of thing, kind of feel, and I can really get down to that. So
you sure can.
Really enjoyed that.
So Shovel Knight's your pick.
Shovel Knight is my pick. Yes, sorry.
Okay. Just making sure that you made that sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Best multiplayer game.
Okay.
And multiplayer, 2 or more players.
Two more.
Doesn't have to be Battlefield 5 or whatever.
Yeah, whichever one they're playing these days.
Just a couple. So Jake here, he has of course, the front of his year was just mainly Overwatch. He wasn't picking up a lot of games. That's one reason he didn't beat a ton of games, because he put so many hours into Overwatch.
A lot of hours.
That's okay. He had fun with it. Also PUBG, most recently PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Yeah. I don't know.
Battlegrounds.
Battleground.
Yeah, they put the G as the separate word.
They didn't have to do that. Now, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is also another one on his nominee list here for multiplayer games. Jake, where do you stand?
Oh, this is difficult, right? Because I do love Overwatch. I love the world. I love playing with all my friends, and it's just a blast to play. Obviously, it's won multiple awards. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You can't go wrong with a Mario Kart game. Split screen, sitting around, just zipping around the track, shooting blue shells at each other. It's infuriating. It's fun. Blast to play.
Yep.
However, the winner has to be PUBG for me. And the reason why, it's just unlike anything I've ever played. It's the most surprising, the most dynamic, the most emergent kind of game that I've ever played. It just really took me by surprise by how these just little moments can happen, and it's interesting because it's also dynamic and happening. 100 live players on the map with you, and you see people running around and driving around, and you're stealing their shit or shooting them when they don't know it, or you're getting shot and you have no idea where from because there's no radar to tell you where the bad guys are. And it's just it's just an interesting concept, obviously being copied by literally everybody. Fortnite, CSGO, a lot of people are copying this battle royale formula. I think even Dying Light is going to release a battle royale. I was like, what the fuck? Everybody stop. But even though it's sort of in a broken, gross state on the Xbox One, it doesn't break the fun. So it goes there for me, which Overwatch, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, you love Overwatch, but play PUBG for a minute and you'll see what I mean.
Nice,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's another surprise for me. I'd have thought that the month you sunk into Overwatch there would overcome that recency of the PUBG, but I stand corrected.
It's just the surprise, because Overwatch, it's kind of predictable. You know it's going to happen eventually. PUBG, you never know.
All right.
All right, and so for you have 3 nominees here for multiplayer as well. Gears of War 4, of course, we love that Horde mode. We love that Horde mode.
Love it.
Portal 2, another co-op adventure you recently completed, and Orcs Must Die 2. Fairly old game, however, it is one you recently completed with your buddy Josh on PC. And gotta love that, trapping them orcs, building them traps. Always a blast.
Always a blast. I do quite love Orcs Must Die 2. Also, I love Portal 2. I mean, they're just great games, but I think the amount of fun and the amount of time I've been able to sink into the Horde mode of Gears of War 4, is really the reason that it's going to win out here. Sunk a lot more time into it, and I can also play it with more of my friends at once. You can get 4 or 5 of us there together and play. And that's when I don't play a lot of multiplayer games, so that's why mine's maybe a little watered down compared to Jake's. But I really enjoyed Gears of War 4.
I think it's probably the best Horde mode.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, didn't it sort of invented it? Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
no, I can agree with that. Sweet.
All right, best indie games developed by smaller conglomerates, smaller developers. Jake has 3 here: Cuphead, Tacoma, and Kamiko. Jake, what was your favorite?
Boy, this is difficult. Loved them all for different reasons, but there can only be one. Kamiko is one of those games that just surprised me. $5, great game, great soundtrack. Tacoma, interesting storytelling. Love the developer from the same people that made Gone Home, Fulbright. And then Cuphead, which is one that has just taken the world by storm, and I'm going to have to go with Cuphead.
Oh, wow.
Even though I haven't finished it, I've sunk enough hours into it to get the aesthetic, to get the gameplay, to understand how well this game is put together. And it's one of those games where the delays feel fully justified. This is a polished product that was not in the slightest bit broken on release, and just came together seamlessly. And it's one of those I plan to dive into in the new year.
Very, very good.
All right. So you have nominees that are not surprising here, considering what you played. You had Gone Home, you have Inside, and you have Cuphead. Now, this is a tough battle here. It
is a tough battle. And I wish I could throw more bones toward Inside, because I did quite love it. It's a close second here, but I got to go with Cuphead.
You have to go with Cuphead.
I have to go with Cuphead.
Have to.
What a fun game. What a fun, beautiful game. And
love it.
Just, a lot of, it was just it's basically a family that made this game, right?
It's a couple of bros, maybe a few other people.
It's astounding.
But I feel like it's like, like bros and in-laws. Like it's all like...
Yeah.
Everybody kind of...
It's an astounding game for the amount of people that were involved.
I've already sold over 2 million units, so
they're set. I hope they come back, though. I told them not to stay away long in my tweet. Please come back and make more.
I like it.
Best character of 2017. So this is games that came out in 2017 that we played in 2017. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty persons in the games, characters in the games.
Yeah.
What were your favorites? Jake has nominated Bayek of Siwa. Bayek of Siwa.
Bayek of Siwa. Yeah.
Siwa from Assassin's Creed Origins. Chloe Fraser from Uncharted Lost Legacy, and Swamp Thing from Injustice 2. Yeah. Jake, tell me, who's your favorite here? And if it's not Swamp Thing, I want to know why.
Now, this might seem like an odd pick, but I really loved, obviously you don't get a huge amount of narrative in a fighting game. You kind of get those little cutscenes between fights, but I really just love Swamp Thing in general, and getting to see him in a game was awesome, even though it wasn't necessarily my favorite, at least art-wise, iteration of him. But he's just one of those characters that I always sympathize with, and he had a nice little arc in the game, and getting to fight with him was awesome. Chloe Fraser, hard to not love her. Like, she's just fantastic. Performance just fantastic. And then Bayek of Siwa from one of my favorite games of the year. This is really difficult, but I'm going to have to go with Chloe from Uncharted Lost Legacy. The performance was so dynamic. Like, Bayek was good, but didn't always feel for his character and didn't always identify with him. Great arc. I'm not knocking it. It just didn't impact me the same way that Chloe did.
Interesting. All right.
So for you have 2B from Nier Automata. You have Devin Wade from Madden 18, and Senua from Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Right.
So these are all very different.
They are very different. Each game is obviously very different. 2B, got that sweet Cyber Tushy.
Gotta love that.
Yes. not the most emotive character, but a very strong character.
Interesting, right?
In the game, yeah, very interesting.
Nice.
I wish there was a little more to it. Obviously, I didn't get all the endings. A lot of people will come at me for that because I did not get all the endings. I maybe have no authority on the game, but I think I played enough. Honestly, I might come back to it and get a few more, but I played enough certainly to understand 2B's role. Gotcha. So there's that. Senua, what amazing thing, I complained that the game fell short in a few ways, but it certainly didn't fall short in character or the way everything from the facial animations to her emotions and everything. You really felt it throughout the game. It was very dark and brooding, and you sort of empathized with her after a while. I felt like I was her. It was so visceral.
Nice.
And Devin Wade, I mean, you can shit on that Madden 18 campaign all you want,
and you did,
but that character, I felt was very grounded. It was very, I empathized with him quite a bit.
Nice.
Very well acted, and I'm between that one and Senua. Not because I feel like Senua is a more important character and certainly handled more emotions, but the Devin Wade character felt more real to me, and I think that's what they were going for.
That makes sense.
And so I really liked it. So I'm going to have to go with. I feel shady doing it, but I feel like I got to go with Madden 18's Devin Wade in terms of
crazy.
Just and I was surprised myself.
Wild picks here on Polykill.
I flipped it there. I talked myself away from it.
That's crazy.
I talked myself away from it.
Wait, do you think you just identify with a young boy with football dreams more than you do with a person suffering from psychosis in ancient Celtic times?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
I think Senua, they probably put more work into that character, and she probably deserves it more. But in terms of like Devin Wade, I made decisions based on what would Devin Wade do, and I feel like it's a good character.
Okay.
Like I really felt I really wanted this guy to do okay. So
interesting.
It was cool.
So a fun fact about the actress whose name escapes me and I probably couldn't pronounce, who played Senua, she's not an actress. She was the video editor at Ninja Theory.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, not even an actress. It's crazy. She's won all kinds of awards, except for Polykill. Polykill can give you an award.
I feel bad.
That's fine.
I almost want to flip it. I feel bad that we put a Madden 18 stamp on something over. No, but
that's hilarious.
If you want to stop listening to Polykill because of that, I understand. I'm very sorry. I thought Devin Wade was fine.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to before we get to our Game of the Year 2017. If you're still with us, God bless you.
Yes. Amen.
But we are going to zip through 5 real quick made-up things, made-up awards without nominees. Zip through them real fast. We're going to call them honorable mentions, but maybe that's not what they are because we've already given some of these an award.
Yeah.
But it's sort of these unique things that we give each game. So I'll zip through mine real quick. An award I'm calling everyone should play this, and that I'm assuming everyone hasn't, is Quackshot starring Donald Duck. I played that on the Genesis. It was right around the wake of my dad passing away. I needed a game that was uplifting and fun. It's very Indiana Jones. It's very Disney. It's very, very beautiful.
Sounds fun.
Everyone should play it. Another award I'm calling I Wish I Had Those Hours Back. It's a game that I hated, also played in the wake of my dad's funeral. Ren and Stimpy's invention, it might have made the weekend worse for me. It was not a great game. I don't know why I stuck with it. I don't know why I decided that I needed to beat it, but I did beat it. I thought Ren and Stimpy would be fun and funny. It's not. Don't play it.
Okay.
Scared my dick off. Resident Evil 7. I no longer have a penis thanks to this game. I played with my buddy Brian. He no longer has a penis. We're both penisless. It was a great game. It scared my dick off. I can't wait for more Resident Evil. Wow, what a game.
Sweet.
Cuter than the Dickens, Cuphead.
And there's another Cuphead award.
I had to say it again. Yeah. I love Cuphead. Beautiful game. Cuter than the Dickens. And then what the fuck did I just play? Bayonetta 2. What the fuck did I just play? What was it? What happened in the game? I have no idea. I beat the game, could not tell you one thing that happened or why it happened.
Sweet. That's awesome. Love it. All right, so here are my 5 honorable mentions. Some of these are just, I don't know, these are weird. But pre-release hate, post-release love. That is going to be Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
I get it.
Absolutely despise the idea of those two universes crossing over. Played the game. Absolutely love that these two universes crossed over. Send Me Right Back to High School award goes to Life is Strange Before the Storm.
The high school you never went to.
Never went to. Yeah, Blackwell High School. Or just any of them. I Need to Learn How to Climb award goes to Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
All you do in these games is climb.
Are you going to get into climbing?
No.
Okay.
No, I will not. But good God, all those games you climb. The DOA award, the Dead on Arrival award, goes to Battleborn. Sorry.
It's just overshadowed before it came out.
Completely overshadowed by Overwatch. Yeah, it's basically, all support has stopped for that game.
Yeah, true that.
It went free to play, and then they just stopped working on it.
Similarly for Blazinski's game, too, right?
Lawbreakers, you could also say that. Yeah, that game's like $15 now. No one gives a shit. Which is kind of a shame. Lastly, an award that I'll give Adolescent Grins to. and that is Ratchet and Clank. Just took me back to being 13 or 14, playing those old PS2 era action adventure, running around, beautiful graphics, just made me happy. Just a lot of fun.
I want more of that. Similarly
Absolutely.
to the Crash trilogy that was re-released, and then this. Please, more of that. I mean,
Yes,
that
more,
tickles the nostalgia.
Love it.
right in the old spot.
Right in the old tickling place.
All right, so here's the one. Here's the big
we
one.
go.
Game
Drum
of the year.
roll.
Drum roll. Game of the year 2017. Of course, these are relegated to games that came out in 2017 that we
Yes.
played in 2017.
Yes.
The one that everybody else is doing. We're doing it too.
We're doing it too. By God.
Jake has nominated you. Let me go first. Yours are bigger. Yours are more important. I
Okay.
feel like. Okay,
All right.
do me first.
All right, I'll do you. All right, so Game of the Year 2017, Trav has nominated 3 distinct games. He has nominated Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Resident Evil 7, and Cuphead.
Okay. Do you have a prediction here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know if it's right, but I have one.
Okay, so coming in at number 3 would be Hellblade, and I know that surprises you, Jake, because
You hated it.
I never hated it. I just felt like it. It's not it's not particularly a fun game. I hate to say that because it does have moments that are enthralling.
Well,
and
I don't think
compelling.
this is a game that was designed to be fun, though.
I feel like all games should have something that is fun or something that is gripping or whatever, but it does. It's a slow burn. It eventually gets to a point where it makes you want it. And
Okay.
I think that's the interesting thing about the game. Just some of those visuals toward the end. If you started the game and like, this isn't for me, make it to hell,
Move on.
and then tell me what you think. It's metal as fuck, as Brian pointed out in his Brizzy Awards. Pretty solid game, but not my favorite. Comes in number 3 for games released and I played in 2017.
All right, so what's your number 1? You have to give us your number 1 because you can't give us number 2 because we'll know by default, and then the fan tour will be gone.
I got it.
All right.
It is.
Okay.
Between Cuphead and Resident Evil 7.
These very wildly different games, but you love them both.
I adored them both.
Do you have a pick? Do you know?
I do.
Okay.
It is Resident Evil 7.
Holy shit, I was not expecting that.
It is Resident Evil
Fully
7.
expected it to be Cuphead.
So scary, so well written. Having played the original Resident Evil within the last year and then playing this one and also playing 6 in between, I knew what people loved about the series. I knew what people hated about the series immediately.
Right.
And I'm so happy to see it go back to what people love about the series. Very reminiscent of the first one. Well written, very unexpected, but a lot of throwback stuff to some of the old Resident Evil. So
Right,
enough
a lot of
fan
people wouldn't
service.
expect that, given that it shifted perspective to first person. It was in a house with a redneck family, but in some ways, I'm hearing that it's more like the first game than many in a long time.
Absolutely is.
That's awesome.
Just the visuals, everything. Some jump scares, some psychological scares. There's there's an old lady that terrorizes you in this house. She's in a wheelchair and she's randomly in the house at different parts of the game. I got to where I didn't want to walk by her in the game. I closed my eyes and run past her in the game because I was afraid that any moment she was going to come alive and eat my soul. What a fantastic experience! Obviously, Cuphead number 2. I love Cuphead, but I think the memories I got out of Resident Evil 7 will last me a lifetime.
All right.
So that's me.
That's fantastic.
So
All right,
you
congratulations.
You would have picked Cuphead then.
No,
you would expected.
Oh, yeah, absolutely expected to pick Cuphead.
Yeah. So for you, Game of the Year 2017, Jake played a lot of games that came out in 2017, but he only finished the ones that I'm going to mention here.
Right. Well, no, I finished more than that.
You finished more than that, but
my nominees.
Of your nominees, you
Yes.
certainly finished these. So I'm saying this doesn't include Horizon or Persona 5,
Or
some games that you're very
Legend of
fond
Zelda
of
Breath
that
of
you
the
did
Wild.
not complete.
Exactly.
So the nominees that he has listed here is Super Mario Odyssey, a game that we've not mentioned at all at this point.
Crazy.
It absolutely is. Assassin's Creed Origins, obviously we just talked about that a lot today. And What Remains of Edith Finch.
Right.
Where do you stand for your Game of the Year 2017?
Boy, this is wild. It's a wild one. So, number 3 is going to be What Remains of Edith Finch.
Okay.
That's my number 3.
Okay.
Love the game. Surprised by the narrative. It's kind of that adventure game that I love. Not going to beat the dead horse. It's just a great game. So, between these two different games, Super Mario Odyssey, which has been absent from pretty much every nominee.
Yeah, where's that been?
Crazy, right? And then Assassin's Creed Origins. So my Game of the Year 2017 is Super Mario Odyssey.
What?
Yes.
You're not going to mention. You're going to give it any fodder award. You're just going to.
No, and here's why. This is why. Because first of all, I didn't play any other games like it in 2017. No one probably did. Didn't play any other, platformers, 3D platformers, and there's no really other good place to put this. The interesting thing about Super Mario Odyssey is that there's not one element of this game that sort of stands out to me. like you might. I mean, the only thing I could say would probably level design, but it would be kind of weird to have like level design of 2017 nominee list. But the game is just, I won't say it's perfect, but everything works together perfectly in this game, if that makes sense. It's not like the most perfect game I've ever played. I honestly can't think of anything that I strongly dislike about it. It tickled my nostalgia. It made me feel like I was playing Super Mario 64 again, which is honestly the last Super Mario game that I played. The music in this game fit so well. Obviously, music was a big part of the marketing for this game with the song that Pauline sings from New Donk City. Having the 2D conversions that they sort of picked up from Link Between Worlds, kind of using that aesthetic, but like going back to the Super Mario Bros. 1, just being able to use the cap to possess things and jump on and smack things around with, and collecting the power moons and powering up your ship, and then going to these new exciting kingdoms that we've never seen before. Some hilarious encounters like that. I have a few little gripes I would like to see more of. More like the Bowser kids would have been fun. But they had a new set of villains that you got to fight against. The encounters that you had with Bowser were just, very fun, not overly challenging, but just a lot of fun to figure out. And the ending to that game really just surprised me. It was one of the coolest endings to a Mario game that I've ever played. And it's one that I'll definitely go back to. I've got a lot of moons left to get. There's over like 800 moons. I have like almost 200. So a lot of places I could go. So there you go. As ACO comes in at number 2 for me, but Super Mario Odyssey takes the cake. Not a surprise. Not really to me. Was it a surprise to you? Did you surprised?
I was actually more surprised that Super Mario Odyssey didn't win anything else.
Like I said, it was just hard for me to single out something.
Or even get nominated into any other category.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it's more of a surprise, but I guess I'm not surprised that you sort of put recency bias on hold and really looked at Super Mario Odyssey and decided that maybe it was the better game.
I really think it was. And just being able to play it on Switch, I started the game docked in TV mode and then finished it eventually in handheld mode on a trip. So just that, transportability was nice too.
Yeah, the Switch certainly helps.
Take that experience with you.
All right. Well, that does it for our my favorite episode every year is between this one and maybe the music episodes that we do, which I don't know if we can do anymore because of
who knows.
Because we're on Spotify, so we might get
flagged
burned if we do that again. But we have JD to help us out.
Exactly.
So that's been it. So I hope everyone, because this released on New Year's Day, hope everyone is enjoying their 2018 already. Next week or next episode, we'll be talking about our New Year's resolutions, all brand spanking New Year's resolutions. We had some big ones last year that kind of caught on to some folks, and other people are mimicking the ones that we did earlier in the year. So maybe we'll come up with some new and exciting ones next time. So once again, thank you for joining us. Share some of your superlatives. What do you think? Come at us with some of this stuff here on Twitter. You can find me. I am at Trav Plays Games.
You can find me on all those meads at the McAxel.
And together we are at Polykill, Facebook.com/Polykill Podcast. You can find us there. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Search Polykill. We don't yet have our own URL. We plan to one day, maybe. Who knows? Rate us on iTunes or any service you use. Follow us on Spotify. Go to polykill.com for all the blogs, videos, and podcasts. Please check out Brian's blogs there at Hokey Brizz's blogs. CartridgeClub.org is where you can chat with us there in the forums and check out other fantastic podcasts from around the Cartridge Club and find out the Cartridge Club Game of the Month, which will be Dark Cloud in the month of January. I will be on that episode, so play it and let's talk about it. And send all of your weird, strange, interesting, unique, ridiculous, or absurd news stories that you can find locally, the better, but if not, hey, whatever. It doesn't have to be recent. To polykillpodcast@gmail.com for Offkilter14. That's been it. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.